Hi, hello, welcome to Spell Day. We're recovering a spell every single day of the year from the 5e PHP plus 3. Those specialty spells are homebrew spells. We're at plus 3 at the moment. You could head back in the playlist to find them, and today's spell is the first of the walls, Wall of Fire. 4th level evocation, casting time for 1 action, range of 120 feet, components verbal somatic material, a small piece of phosphorus, duration concentration up to 1 minute. You create a wall of fire on a solid surface within range. You can make the wall up to 60 feet long, 20 feet high, and 1 foot thick, or a ringed wall up to 20 feet in diameter, 20 feet high, and 1 foot thick. The wall is opaque and lasts for the duration. When the wall appears, each creature within its area must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 5d8 fire damage or half as much damage on a successful one. One side of the wall selected by you when you cast this spell deals 5d8 fire damage to each creature that ends its turn within 10 feet of that side or inside the wall. Creature takes the same damage when it enters the wall for the first time on a turn or ends its turn there. The other side of the wall deals no damage. At higher levels, when you cast this spell using a spell slot of 5th level or higher, the damage increases by 1d8 for each slot level above 4th. There is not a save on that second half there. 60 feet long, 20 feet tall. It's going to stop a lot of things from jumping over, but again, anything that can fly, I mean, there's a lot of things that can't stop that. But honestly, pretty decent. Especially if you're in a dungeon scenario, any hallway you're trying to cut off, or even large rooms, 60 feet wide, 20 feet tall, unless you're in some gigantic giant ruin, it's likely to cover up or entirely block off access. Not to mention the cylinder. The cylinder is probably the most terrifying form of this because you get to choose the side the burning's from, so it's not always just defensive if you're in the center, which is also great. Again, an additional 10-foot radius around that. But if you then make it on the inside, that's just cooking them. It's almost like a single target spell at that point, or one area, smaller area. Picking a point, 20-foot diameter, whoosh. Though you can also theoretically trap a creature on the inside of it. Because you could have the burning on the outside and just keep them safe there, unless they try to travel through, which, you can just move through it. There's not a dex save to stop you from it, there's not anything to push you back. The only thing stopping you from moving through it is damage, which for any, commoner or horde infantry, which will this likely be used against, because it's close to any of these wall spells that are quick, are closer to a battlefield spell, or like a big army spell. Again, 60 feet, 20 foot tall. Just a wizard at the edge of the battlefield, raking their hand across it, covered in phosphorus, and then just wall of flame, just scorching array an entire regiment. Good for blocking off, good for trapping, especially because this is all within an action and 120 feet. Decent range, but a lot of these wall spells are going to share that. But 4th level, compared to other wall spells, especially the later ones, bit steeper, but not that bad. Just above Fireball. And over that minute, you can get a lot of damage in, again, if you trap it somehow. That goes with a lot of area effect damage spells over time. Which is why turning in the cylinder is a good idea. Because, yes, while they can walk through it, they guarantee take another 5d8 damage, either when they're staying there, or when they're moving through it. The dex save is only on the initial creation of it and along its line. After that 10-foot, space outside of the wall, every turn is just doing 5d8 damage to a creature, specifically when they end their turn there, or when they pass through the wall. Both of those. So, you trap something on the inside of it with 1 action. You trap a creature on the inside of it with 1 action, you shape it and arrange it so that just the tail end of this creature is being caught with the dexterity saving throw. They might take more damage that way, they're now on the inside, they're about to be cooked on the next turn when their turn ends. So, they need to book it. So either they're taking 5d8 by just standing there, and then they're going to be there again the next round anyway, or they run through the wall and guarantee take another 5d8 anyway. Which kind of sucks. While it's good to force them into a damned if you do, damned if you don't, well, especially damned if you don't, it does force them to take another 5d8, unless they have a means of flying or teleporting. Or if a boss is not willing to risk it, or some other kind of enemy, they're really trying to get you to drop concentration on that for some other reason before that turn comes around. But outside of that, that's kind of where, because it has no other means of restraining them or stopping them from just walking through the wall, the only thing is the health of the creature. So if it's a big monster, that can tank that, especially if it's resistant or immune to fire, which is relatively common on some later game enemies, it's not going to be the best incentive to stay or use. When it comes to regular enemies, again, soldiers with 11 health, commoners with 4, goblins with 7, that's not going to end well. They're probably going to die on the initial sweep of that. Which for the whole area, the locking off of dungeons, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Just for a minute, you can chase us, but you're going to take 5d8 running through it. And if you have other means of trapping them or keeping them away at a range, it stops a lot of reach weapons, because even though things can pass through the wall, they have the 10-foot gap that they can't stand in. So that stops a lot of spears, halberds, any reach weapon and attack. Well, at least stuff that can't reach past 10 feet. Or under that. Under that. 7 out of 10. I'm honestly surprised giving this one, because the way you can angle it, and because you can do the cylinder or essentially trap them in a certain scenario, you're, while not actually physically blocking them, it is forcing damage. And putting them in a situation, or allows you to put them in a situation, where they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. So they're just going to have to eat that spell unless they have some way of actually counterspelling or dispelling it. Or having you drop your concentration outside of that. But it's not that bad for the level it's at, and the potential damage over the full minute if you can somehow restrain a creature as well. 4th level, not that bad. Not a cost material component, 120 foot range, pretty decent. And again, for regiments, horde enemies, amazing. But then you can single target trap it with the cylinder. It's not the worst. The issue is just the fire resistance, so 7, 6. A lot of wall spells kind of limit themselves because they don't... No, that's guaranteed damage. Keep it at 7.